Right, so quite a few weeks have passed and a holiday, hence the tan. The car is now back from Intatrim, so let's see what the lads have done. All right, so picking up was pretty uneventful. As usual, hired a trailer, managed to get some dry days, happy days. When I arrived, the car still needed to be wiped down. A little bit of light formula of white spirit, just to get some overspray of glue off from some spray glue. So that was just up the sides and a little bit on the back scuttle, etc. So let's see what's going on. Well, this is as I chose. So I chose perforated leather for the front dashboard, just to soften the look of the dash a little bit. It does look a bit much at the moment, but of course we do have to remember I've got to cut out a large double DIN space unit to fit into there. So I think that'll look quite good. And then that goes into the curved tunnel there. As requested, they gave me some light blue stitching to match the blue of the car, which is excellent. They could have done a brighter one, but glad they went for this more subtle one. Don't want anything too leery. I'm aiming for a more authentic kind of look, hence the colour, hence the black interior. Nothing leery, you know. The car means business, 500 horsepower. So yeah, I wanted it that kind of more kind of real looking, I guess, albeit, you know, we all know it's got a radio in it and a newfangled engine, but there we go, we got some homage to the original, I think. So all excellent. I've got leather up the side of here. None of the telltale crease marks that some of the fitters might get. Got great trims, great carpet, I mean, plus the additional heel carpet there with embroidery on it. And we go into diamond work there. I insisted on equal diamonds. I didn't want any half diamonds and full diamonds over to one side. So they've matched that up all perfectly. And it all just feeds in really nicely. And the seats, they got a little bit of that cathedral stitch work. These are their solar seats, I believe. I expressed some problems with some previous. They used to be really bulky all the way up around the front, and would always be leaning against your paintwork, and you might have needed some protective PPF. Is it PPF? Tape there or something. They slimmed down these a little bit. I think they had some feedback from someone else as well, just to say that this was really too bulbous around here. So I think now it actually looks a lot better. So I'm really pleased with these seats. What else we got? Excellent stitch work that you don't get in a lot of places all around the glove box. So it's really quite tidy. And then we've got some finishing off at the top of the door, which is great. And then we got some cathedral swooping outwards. So I'm going to be fitting the speaker in here, and these will just go around the edge of the speaker grill, which is amazing. Obviously a few things to do now. Put all the bright work back on, and well, they did manage to do me a little pocket. They said they wouldn't be able to fit a pocket in here with the speaker, so that's even better, just to wedge in a parking ticket or a pair of sunglasses. So well chuffed with that. They do still have to send me the covers that go over the harness clips here, so it doesn't all bash up and chip the paintwork. So they're going to send those to me, and a little bit of trim, which I did on my very first car that I trimmed myself, just to go over here, just to hide all this unsightly join and metal work here, and also in here. So they'll send me that. So I'm pretty chuffed with everything at the moment. Let's go and have a look at the boot. So the boot always came back from Intatrim, really nice. But I did tell them that because all this was stuck down, it used to be a whole complete sheet. It was quite difficult to get to the wires and everything. So they've done a little cutout here. Sorry about the camera work, by the way. It has been a while since I last did it. So they've done a nice cutout here. You wouldn't see it anyway, just stood up or leaning into the boot. But obviously you can get to the wire in, and it's really quite nice now. So this is all good. And then I've got a panel right across the back, which is fantastic, and panel on the sides, and I went for a full panel on the right hand side. So that is not only hiding the fuel filler that goes up to the cap in through the wheel arch, it's hiding my cut-off switch as well, and the battery. So I think that's a really nice, neat, rather than having a separate kind of unit covering the fuel filler. All these are easily just to pop out and expand. So obviously there is quite a large void behind here. So you could use that for fire extinguisher or something. Keep it all out of sight. And these you just lean on one edge, and the other edge pops out, and you can remove it. So quite chuffed with all that. Got seat runners for after IVA if I want them. I'm not really sure if I feel the need to fit those. But yeah, lovely. Got to trim my excessively long rubber there, but this is all looking very nice, and is going to be quite a nice, comfortable place to be. So what's the plan? Well, the plan is to put all the stuff in there, all the bright work, everything I can, to get it to IVA, which is booked for about 3 weeks time. So we need to take the dash out. There's no wiring on the back of the dash at all. That all came out in one piece, and we've got to put it all back together and hope it works, and get it ready for IVA. So let's do all that together, and then the IVA video will be a separate video. Alright, so as we're going around the car, putting it all back together, I'm going to start with the hoop first. They've developed and changed their ideas somewhat with certain things, and I'll show you one of them. So previously they would do door cards that would come and completely cover the door, and then you would put your lock on, and they have stopped doing that, and instead they have this cutout section, because they were getting a lot of people whose locks were not fitting, the doors were not clicking on both both lock sections of the lock. So, and then they would come back to Intatrim and say, you know, your door card's too thick or thin, and the door isn't latching correctly. So they decided just to do away with that, which I understand but don't actually agree. You know, they were. I think door cards maybe could have been thickened with a couple of washers behind them, or thinned by maybe sandpaper in the plywood behind or something to make it thinner. If people had that kind of problem, you know, the whole lock would then draw everything in tight into the door, and you wouldn't have this cutout section. And even if I did agree with the cutout section, I think perhaps they could have done a tail here and filled that in, because it doesn't look terrific. It'd probably look better if this was all paint and going up here, but of course I opted for this upper door trim here, so it now does kind of glare out that there's a section here uncovered. But you know, that's just one of those things. I'm sure I'll stop thinking about that after a couple of days. You know, it does look generally quite neat. Of course, well, the other thing is, you know, you do see these spacer bolts as well now. So maybe I'm going to have to do something with that, or do they look pretty enough? I'm not really sure. So we'll look at that and maybe put something around it. Anyway, that's one of the things. So now I'm coming back into the boot here. So another reason they put this large backing on there is so they don't have to mess around too much with around the roll hoops and the and the brackets, etc. Which I understand, and I'm actually pretty behind that, but I'll show you a couple of things. You're never going to see the back of this plywood. However, I would have just taken a bit of sandpaper along here and just taken off these sharp edges and crap here. The reason I say that is because I did just get a splinter, but you know, that's not too hard for me to do. But perhaps they could have taken a couple of minutes just to take the edge off there. So that's a bit of trim, and then we get this pull tab. I'm going to do the other side as well. There is some block work here, and let's see if I can remember how to do it. You have to give it lean and pull out the bottom section. Although I might need two hands there while it just prizes out. Okay. I've got all the boxes in the way, which doesn't help. Alright, so that's the other bit. Again, I could do with a little bit of sandpapering. And then we can freely pull this tab and this all drops out. So I'm quite behind that. I don't mind all that. It is a bit unsightly still behind here. It does mean that I can put the brackets in there without having to cut out the carpet, because you mustn't have carpet in between the car and the brackets, that the harness brackets. So it is handy that we can just whack the brackets back in there and not worry about anything. I think I am going to cut out a small section of carpet just to make that a slightly nicer place, so I don't catch myself on any fiberglass or anything else whilst I'm fitting the amplifier and the speakers. But I am quite pleased that that whole void is available, and then hidden by the nice stitching and everything else. So good and bad ideas. I'm sure things will progress, but I think it's okay what they've designed, and once all the sections are in place, it looks awesome. But just because I know that this is here, I'm going to give it a hoover and a tidy up. So there we go, there's a bit of carpet put in there. Obviously can't go underneath the harness supports, need to cut around that. So I think I've done a half decent job there. Just need to stick it down. And it obviously won't be seen anyway because of the rear sort of bulkhead trim that just goes across here. So we'll show you that in a sec. I was quite lucky. I had failed to take into account enough room for the speaker to fit in next to this harness roll bar leg. I'd only been thinking about the supports, which is why I've got a little cutout in the side of the MDF ring there. However, I'm pleased to say that I can get about 4 post-it notes in between, but I did have a little bit of wiggle room anyway if I wanted to just move that speaker across a couple of mil. So I'm all pretty good there, so I'm quite pleased with that. It's just a nicer, slightly nicer finished job there, and I'm going to fit the amp and the speaker wires and everything else, I think, now before I seal it all up. Although I do have to revisit for running power and earth, so I might just leave that for a second and move on to something else. So anyway, that's all good. So I've got to drop in my my screws. Obviously they just drop through and screw in underneath with the kind of flat spring washers underneath, so that there's no undue tension on any paint or anything. So it's starting to look the business now, with a bit of the sort of stainless steel work on there. All right then, so on with the show here. You know, half neatly wired, not a lot I can do. It's all hidden by the leather back piece anyway. I'm going to earth this to just underneath a leg here, and I'm going to take a power all the way around to my battery cutoff, I think. So, you know, they're all just all hanging out there. I may spend some time tidying that up once it's all definitely working. I didn't want to hide it away too soon, in case I've got to you know, come back to it and fix anything. So that's all looking quite good, and then I'll just show you the dash. I'm pretty pleased with the dash. All the wires just kind of dropped back into their original places, but I did refer back to a load of pictures just to make sure I had everything in the right place. So I think that's all good. All my harnesses here ready to plug in, so that's all fine. I've just mounted the clock and the kind of speedo programming switch there. So what I do here, it's so thick, I really just I'm doing this up against the thickness of the leather, so the hole in the actual fiberglass just goes straight through, and then this is just doing up on the thickness of the leather. There's such a light little switch anyway, you know, there's not really going to be any play in that. So so that's all fine, and I also installed my little red light as well for the immobilizer. So I'll just turn this around and show you. So there we have it. So pretty pleased with this in the end. Got this nice and flush. It was quite a bit of work and quite a few hands to help, and then I just bonded it on the other side in the cage that this slides into. So this is actually still removable backwards. Obviously got the protective film on here. So red light for the immobilizer, all nice in there. Got the two switches. So we're all cooking on gas there. I think it's all looking quite nice. So I'm going to pop this in, and then I'll video hopefully some sort of successful start, or at least just test the electrics first. There we go, dash is in, and it's all brilliant. Everything works. Thankfully, how I left it a couple of months back. Stereo is awesome. That all plays really nicely. Sound is tremendous. It's absolutely amazing. Just sat there, speakers coming through the rear leather there. Possibly should have been perforated just to open it up a little bit more, maybe, but it's amazing. And these speakers here are stunning. So yeah, incredible sounds. I'm sure I'll be able to hear that, no problem at all. Just cruising along 60 or 70 on the motorway, just to take the slight bit of boredom out. So that all fits really nicely. So I've just hung there the immobilizer loop. So I've got to fit that behind my where I put in the ignition key and everything else. So I'm well made up there. I'm quite chuffed with how that's all fitted. So we're going to put that together. I'm going to put the windscreen wipers on and the front splitter, and then I think we'll have a little start maybe tomorrow. I think I should get the exhaust on really. Is there something to do with back pressure not building up or something if the exhaust aren't on and it's not routed correctly? So I don't want anything untoward to happen. I'm not really a mechanic, so I'm not quite sure, but we'll sling the exhaust on, and we'll see if we can get this started. So really chuffed. Alright, so a change of plans there. We're going to call it a day on this video because it's throwing it down outside and I'm slightly under the weather, so I'm not going to get the exhaust on right now and do that all important test fire up. However, I don't envisage any problems, so I'm sure that'll be fine, and we'll do that in the next video. The next video will be all about IVA prep. I have my IVA in about 3 weeks, so it's everything I need to do to the car to hopefully get that first time pass. I'll see you again.